What's good, y'all? I'm back with another video. Continue on with the story of Moses being the king of Cush. This is part 2, where you could read all the chapters about Moses being the king of Cush. Is chapter 72, 73, and 76 in the book of Jasher. Also, again, in the last video, which I mentioned, like it was referenced, I'm also again showing these 2 biblical verses that the book of Jasher was referenced off of. But without wasting no time, let's continue on with part 2 of Moses being the king of Cush. In the book I'll be reading off of this book. You can order this off of Amazon, I believe, because this is where I got this off. I got this off of Amazon. But yeah, in the 55th year of the reign of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, that is in the 157th year of the Israelites going down into Egypt, reigned Moses in Cush. Moses was 27 years old when he began to reign over Cush, and 40 years did he reign. So I'm going to read this little commentary that I wrote down in my notes. So basically, when the Israelites were in captivity in Egypt in their 157th year, and the current Pharaoh was in reign in his 55th year, Moses was 27 years old when he began his reign over Cush. Hope you guys understand what that diagram I placed in right there. But let's continue on. And the Lord granted Moses favor and grace in his eyes of all the children of Cush, and the children of Cush loved him exceedingly. So Moses was favored by the Lord and by men. And in the 7th day of his reign, all the children of Cush assembled and came before Moses and bowed down to him to the ground. And all the children spoke together in the presence of the king, saying, Give us counsel that we may see what is to be done to the city. For it is now 9 years that we have been besieged round about the city, and have not seen our children and our wives. So the king answered them, saying, If you will hearken to my voice in all that I shall command you, then will the Lord give the city into our hands, and we shall subdue it. For if we fight with them as in the former battles, which we had with them before the death of Kikianis, many of us will fall down wounded as before. Now therefore, behold, here is counsel for you in this matter. If you will hearken to my voice, then will the city be delivered into our hands. So all the forces answered the king, saying, All that our land shall command, that will we do. And Moses said unto them, Pass through and proclaim a voice in the whole camp unto all the people, saying, Thus saith the king, Go into a forest and bring with you 4 young ones of the stork, each man a young one in his hand. And any person transgressing the word of the king, who shall not bring his young one, he shall die. And the king will take all belongings to him, and you shall bring them. They shall be in your keeping. You shall rear them until they grow up. And you shall teach them the dart upon, as in the way of the young ones of the hawk. So all the children of Cush heard the words of Moses, and they rose up and caused a proclamation to be issued throughout the camp, saying, Unto you, all the children of Cush, that the king's order is that you go down all together to the forest and catch there the young storks, each man his young ones in his hand. You shall bring them home, and any person violating the order of the king shall die, and the king will take all that belongs to him. And all the people did so, and they went out to the woods, and they climbed the fir tree and caught each man a young one of his hand in his hand, all the young of the storks, and they brought them into the desert and reared them by order of the king, and they taught them to dart up, similar to the young hawk. And after the young storks were reared, the king ordered them to be hungered for 3 days, and all the people did so. And on the 3rd day the king said unto them, Strengthen yourselves, become valiant men, and put on each man his armor, and gird on his sword upon him, and ride each man his horse, and take each his young storks in his hand. So in verse 20, when it says valiant, I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but basically that word means brave. It's like another word of brave. So if we would reread it, we will say on verse 20, and on the third day the king said unto them, straighten yourself and become brave men, and put on each man his armor, and gird on his sword upon him, and ride each man his horse. So yeah. And we will rise up and fight against the city at the place where the serpents are. And all the people did as the king had ordered. And they took each man his young ones in his hand, and they went away. And when they came to the place of the serpent, the king said to them, send forth each man his young stork upon the serpents. And they sent forth each man his young storks, as the king's order. And the young storks ran upon the serpents, and they devoured them all and destroyed them out of that place. And when the king and the people had seen that the serpents were destroyed in that place, all the people set up a great shout. And they approached and fought against the city, and took it and subdued it. And they entered the city. And they died on that day 1,100 men of the people of the city, and all that inhabited the city. But of the people besieging, not one died. So all the children of Cush went each to his home, to his wife and children, to all belonging to him. And Balaam the magician, when he saw that the city was taken, he opened the gate, and he and his 2 sons and 8 brothers fled and returned to Egypt, to Pharaoh king of Egypt. They are the sorcerers and the magicians who are mentioned in the book of Moses, in the book of the law, standing against Moses when the Lord brought the plague upon Egypt. So Moses took the city by his wisdom, and the children of Cush placed him upon the throne instead of Kikianus, king of Cush. And they placed a royal crown upon his head, and they gave him for a wife Adonia, the Cushite queen, wife of Kikianus. And Moses feared the Lord God of his fathers, so that he came not to her, nor did he turn his eyes to her. For Moses remembered how Abraham had made his servant Eliezer swear, saying unto him, thou shalt not take a woman from the daughter of Canaan for my son Isaac. Also what Isaac did when Jacob had fled from his brothers, when he commanded him, saying, thou shalt not take a wife from the daughter of Canaan, nor make alliance with any of the children of Ham. For the Lord our God gave Ham, the son of Noah, and his children, and all his seed as slaves to the children of Shem, and into the children of Japheth, and unto their seed after them for slaves forever. Therefore Moses turned not his heart nor his eyes to the wife of Kikianus all the days that he reigned over Cush. And Moses feared the Lord his God all his life, and Moses walked before the Lord in truth with all his heart and soul. He turned not from the right way all the days of his life. He declined not from the way either to the right or to the left, in which Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had walked. So for me, when I was reading this, this portion of the book of Jasher, specifically verse 35 on chapter 73, I was reading like the children of Ham were literally born just to be slaves, and me, being a children of Ham, I felt some type of way, like, so I'm me being a Hamite, Nilo Hamite. So the Lord literally created us just to be slaves. Like, is that like a hard reason for living? Just to be slaves under an Asian, a white, a Negro, me just being a slave, just be under them. We have accomplished many times, even our people even helped the Israelites in this story. Us being alive is only to be servants to other nations. Like that, I felt a certain type of way on that. But I prayed on it, and the Lord gave me answers. All praise to that. So first things first, it doesn't matter what you are. If you're not under Christ, then it's done done. I'm gonna pull up I'm gonna pull up this this verse of the book of Matthew. Hold on. So Christ, he taught his apostles, you know, the ones who were given authority of his word, of Christ's word, to teach all nations, not just the lost, not just the lost tribes of Israel, but to all nations. Nation also means nationality, so it doesn't matter how you look from the outside. It's really what matters of how your spirit is like. We're trying to change the spirit, because Christ, because the law, you know, everyone had like what was doing the law, but it was not out of love. So, and also with these other nations who didn't know the law, you know, like Paul, for example, was a big one for teaching the Gentiles. So let me pull up this verse real quick. You're gonna follow along. It's gonna be Matthew chapter 28. Or it's gonna be Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 through 20. And just follow along. And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. So was that after Christ died and he resurrected and told his apostles, he said, teach all the nations. You know, to whoever wants to be saved and wants to have salvation, teach them. And this is the way. If you want salvation, the way is through Christ. Follow his teachings. Besides how we look, you know, besides how we look in the outside, you know, we all have vices. We all sin. You know, we sin every day. We're all the same. We're all the same in the inside. Even in the end, when Christ returns, there's gonna be multiple nationalities, multiple races standing before the throne of Christ. Without me saying, I'm just gonna pull out the verse. This is Revelation chapter 7, verse 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations, and kindred, and people, and tongues, stood before the throne, and before the Lamb, clothed with white robe, and palm in their hands. At the end, there's gonna be many nationalities that's gonna be before the throne. And also, I had this part written down while I was doing these notes. I said, like that custom of an Israelite not to marry outside of the race, it was their custom. Even same thing in our South Sudanese household. For sure, your parent do not want you to marry someone outside of your race. You know, just to keep the pure blood, you know, going. You know, but understanding that since Christ came down and died for us, we serve Him. We don't serve we only serve Christ because He is the way, the truth, and He said. To follow Him, deny yourself and pick up the cross and follow Him. So that's who we serve. If you follow Christ, you serve Christ, not any other nation. But anyways, let's continue on with the story of Moses. This is verse 38. And Moses strengthened himself in the kingdom of the children of Cush, and guided the children of Cush with his usual wisdom. And Moses prospered in his kingdom. And at that time, Aram and the children of the east heard that Kikianus, king of Cush, had died. So Aram and the children of the east rebelled against Cush in those days. And Moses gathered all the children of Cush, a people very mighty, about 30,000 men, and he went forth to fight with Aram and the children of the east. And they went at first to the children of the east, and when the children of the east heard their report, they went to meet them and engaged in battle with them. And the war was severe against the children of the east. So the Lord gave all the children of the east into the hands of Moses. And about 300 men fell down slain. And all the children of the east turned back and retreated. So Moses and the children of Cush followed them and subdued them and put tax upon them, as it was their custom. So Moses and all the people with him passed from there to the land of Aram for battle. And the people of Aram also went to meet them, and they fought against them. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of Moses. And many of the men of Aram fell down wounded. And Aram also were subdued by Moses, and the people of Cush also gave their usual tax. And Moses brought Aram and the children of the east under subjection to the children of Cush. And Moses and all the people who were with him turned to the land of Cush. And Moses strengthened himself in the kingdom of the children of Cush. And the Lord was with him, and all the children were afraid of him. And that's the end of the chapter right there. So look, ever since Moses left Egypt, he just still strengthened himself, gaining wisdom through the Lord, and he was just building himself and building that kingdom of Cush, brick by brick. Overall, with that chapter, it's just, just a continuation of what was going on during Moses. They gave him the crown and they got the city back, and Moses was not trying to deal with that Cushite queen, Kikian's wife. Well, because it was his custom not to marry someone outside of that. But yeah, I did have a problem with, I did felt some type of way when I read that verse 35 on that. But thank for the Most High for giving me clarity, and yeah, So I hope you got some information, some understanding from this chapter. The next chapter I will be going over will be, I believe it's 76, I believe. But yeah, just stay tuned, and until next time, may the Lord bless you.